Okay, we discussed about these questions. Yeah, this one. We all know that enzyme is a protein, right? And proteins, they are being made from the amino acid. So actually, how amino acid look like? The structure of amino acid, they will be in this way. Okay, COOH. This is we know as the carboxylic group, and the NH2 R. This R group refer to any kind of chemical group that can connect with the amino acid. And then this will be the H. So this will be structure for the amino acid. As you can see from this structure, you will see what? You will see the carbons, right? Carbons, O means oxygens. And you will see the hydrogens. And then you will see this N. N refer to nitrogens. This means that in order to produce a proteins, you need to synthesis the amino acid first. And then the building block for the amino acid is actually from the nitrogens. It includes the nitrogens. So that means they all contain the element nitrogen. This is a true, okay, because nitrogens, they will help to build up the amino acid, and then amino acid will build up the proteins. Okay, and then in exam, okay, sometimes they will ask you, okay, what is the usage for the nitrogens? So you should remember that nitrogens, they can help to make the amino acid. So they will become proteins. Yeah, nitrogens. And then nitrogens they can assist in different form, okay? They can assist in the nitrates. You will learn about this in the plant nutrition part, nitrates. I'm not sure you heard about this element before or not. Nitrate. Iron. Nitrate is a kind of iron, okay? I shouldn't write S here. Nitrate ions. So nitrate ion is, we call as this form, nitrate. NO3 minus. This is a chemical formula for the nitrate ions. And nitrogens, we always, the chemical formula is this N2. N2 means nitrogen gas. So the nitrate ions usually are being absorbed by the plants or animals. Okay, means the plants, especially the plant cell, they will absorb the nitrate ions. Okay, so inside the plant cell, after they absorb the nitrate ions, they will convert into the nitrogens. So the nitrogen, they will help to make of the amino acids. So this is a relationship between them. Okay, I hope you are clear. You guys got learned chemistry, right? So you should see about this word before, nitrate ions. And then this, what is true of all enzymes? So the answer is donkey. Okay, they are not sugars, definitely. They are proteins. So they are most effective at pH 7. Okay, this is not really correct because you should always remember that every enzyme, they have their different optimum temperature. Every enzyme contains different optimum pH. pH. You can you can refer to this graph before. This graph, yeah, this graph. See this graph. I didn't show the screen, right? Sorry. Let me show you again the graph. Okay. I think I show you. Can you see my screen, right? I show you about the pH curve. Oh, you can see, right? Okay. So you can see this pH curve, right, Adam Suya? Can you see it? Okay. So you can see this pH curve, it shows about the enzyme. Here we have 3 different kind of enzyme: pepsin, urease, and trypsin. So you can see that each enzyme, they have their optimum pH. You see, pepsin, their optimum pH is about pH 2. Then how about urease? Urease, their optimum pH is about pH 7, okay? Because around pH 7, the enzyme have the highest enzyme activity. Then trypsin, their optimum pH is about pH 8. Yeah. So from this graph, it shows that every enzyme have different optimum pH. So not all of the optimum pH fall under pH 7. Not all, because you can see some pH fall under 2 and some fall under 8, pH 8. So this means the answer is not really correct for this one. Okay, so this answer is donkey. Okay, I think that's all. Yeah, for the enzyme. Yeah, we finished about the enzyme. So let me continue about the chapter 7, human nutrition. This will be another interesting chapter for you. I hope you really enjoy this chapter today. Okay, so you can open this note first. Please open this note. Okay, once you open already, please let me know. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I really looking forward to your response. Okay. If not, I feel like I'm like talking to somebody else. Okay. So yeah, please give me some response. Okay. Come. Human nutrition. Oh. So in this chapter, we are going to learn about the diets. Okay. What is the balanced diets? As a human, right, we need to gain the nutrients to supply our body cell. So yeah, that's why we need a balanced nutrition. Then we learn about the structure of the alimentary canals. So actually, what's meant by alimentary canal? Alimentary canals, it refers to the whole digestive tract. Okay, the digestive tract includes from the mouth to reach the anus. And then we learn about the mechanical digestions and the chemical digestions. Okay, digestions are comprised in the 2 ways. One is mechanical form. Mechanical means that they are breaking down the foods in the physical ways. Physical means what? Physical means like this food particle initially is very big, right? So you break down them in the physical ways. In the mechanical ways means that you break the food particle side become smaller like this. Yeah. So this is meant by the mechanical. Then how about the chemical digestions? Chemical digestions is usually performed by enzyme. Please always remember that enzyme, they will carry out the chemical digestions. So how enzyme able to break down the foods? So they will undergo the chemical reactions. So from this small food particle, they will convert into the more simplest form, okay? More simplest form. For example, like you can imagine that this food particle, okay, initially is like this, okay? Bigger a bit. Because you just break down in the physical way, right? Just like from the large, it becomes small. This is in terms of their particle size. However, after you undergo the chemical digestions, after you undergo the chemical digestion, right? So the chemical digestions, they will help to break this small particle size. Small particle size into most simplest form of nutrients. Like this, very simplest form. So until it can go to the nutrient absorptions, means that the simplest form of nutrients are able to absorb by the intestine villi. Nutrient absorption by intestine villi. So this is meant by the chemical digestions. Okay. So the chemical digestions means that they are break down the already becoming the small particle size into the nutrients, which is simplest form. For example, amino acids, from proteins to amino acids, from the carbohydrates become the glucose, from the lipids or fats become fatty acid and glycerol. So those are the simplest form of nutrients that can be directly updated by the intestine villi for nutrients absorptions. Okay, so let me explain to you, okay, about the first part, diet. So you must know about what is meant by balanced diet. A balanced diet means that the diet able to supply us with the correct proportions. See, correct proportion of the foods and also the nutrients. So generally, the nutrients that we learn are being classified into the macro and micro. Okay, you can imagine it this way. This one, macronutrients and the micronutrients. What is meant by macronutrients? Macronutrients means that our body requires that nutrients in a very large amount, large quantity. For example, these three nutrients, which is the carbohydrates, protein, and fats, they are classified under the macronutrients. Then micronutrients means that our body requires those nutrients, which is from the vitamin and the minerals in a very small amount only, very small quantity only. Okay. But both nutrients, no matter it's macro and micro, they are also essentially being needed by your body. Just one is needed in the large quantity, another one is needed in the small quantity. So that's a difference, okay? So let me talk to you about the food type, okay? Carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, the function is what? The function for the carbohydrate is they able to provide us with the main source of energy. So the example of foods that are from the carbohydrates is being from the bread, cereals, or rice and noodles that we eat every day. And how about the proteins? Proteins, they are unable to provide us with the source of energy. Okay, remember that protein is not source of energy because the major function of proteins, they will help us for the tissue growth and repair. This one, tissue grow and repair, and also they will help us to do what? Build muscle. And that's why you are a meal, right? So you are require proteins to help you to build muscle. And then you know that protein is usually from the animals' proteins, from the meat, fish, and egg. Sorry. Oh, okay. Someone log out, right? Just now. Okay, both of you are here. And then lipid. Okay, lipid is an alternative source of energy. Alternative source of energy. I write here. Alternative source of energy. This is the lipid. The function of lipids, they help us to do for insulations. Okay, what does it mean by insulations? Insulations means that they help us to protect our body from cold. Okay, so actually in our body, we have the fat layers under our skin and also around our internal organs. Yeah. So they also help us to store energy. Okay, so it's for the insulation and the energy storage. And also it's an alternate source of energy. What is meant by alternative source of energy? That means that the lipids also able to become one of the source of energy provided to our body cell. If the main source of energy, which is the carbohydrates, become depleted, you can write this note down, okay? When carbohydrates source source depleted, means the carbohydrate being used up. Okay, the carbohydrate storage in our body are being used up. So our body cell, they will trying to burn the fats. Lipid will become alternative source of energy. Okay, so means that when our body already finished the carbohydrate source for the energy, so they will help to burn the lipids to release the energy. Okay, then follow up by the dietary fibers. Okay, these dietary fibers we call as xianwei. Okay, dietary fiber is usually found from the vegetable. See, the vegetables or the whole grains, they contain the rich fibers inside it. So the function of fibers, they help us to prevent constipations. See, because they help us to provide the bulks or brothage for the intestine to push the food through it. Okay, you can imagine that these fibers are usually found from where? Fibers are found from the plant cell, right? So actually, in the plant cell, I hope you still remember that there's a one component of the plant cell. Okay, I mean there's a one organelles of the plant cell. They contains those fibers. The component is referred to the cell wall, right? Because cell wall are made up of the cellulose fiber. The cell wall of the plant cell made of cellulose fiber. Cellulose fiber. So that's why whenever we eat the vegetables, we're able to get the plant cell wall. Okay, so we're able to get the fiber from the plant cell wall. So those fibers able to, we call as retain the moisture, especially when our feces, okay. So it's okay. Later I'll explain to you how the fiber able to prevent the constipation to occurs. So, and then followed by the vitamins, minerals. See, vitamin minerals are required by our body in a very small quantity, okay? But they are also important, just like they're just very needed in a very small amount only to help us to maintain the health. And mostly the vitamin and the mineral are usually come from the fruits and vegetables. And then the waters. Waters are, we also classify under the nutrients, okay? If you want to classify the nutrients from the macro or the micro, okay, water, usually they will put under the macronutrients. Macronutrients. Okay, because our body also require water in a very large quantity. So waters, the function is they will help us to, they will provide a body cell with the medium for the chemical reactions to happen. Yeah, medium for the chemical reaction to happen. Okay, why I say in this way is because that you can see chemical reactions. You still remember that on the last week when we learned about the digestions, right, by the enzyme. So we every time we will write about this formula, right? Like this substrate. I write here down this substrate plus the water. And then they will become what? Substrate plus water, and then they will become products. Okay, for example, like starch plus water and being converted by the salivary amylase. And then they will become maltose. So you can see water. So means that the chemical reactions require the water to happen. Okay, so this chemical equations, the process, the name of process we call as the hydrolysis. Hydrolysis, because they require the usage of the water help to spill the starch become the smallest form of the nutrient, which is maltose. Yeah, so this is function of water, okay, which is for the chemical reaction to occur. Yeah. So those are the nutrients and their function, okay? So you should remember about the functions of the nutrients because the exam they will be asking in the paper 4, okay? And then now, we continue, yeah? So now we need to study about the vitamin and their functions, vitamin and the mineral. Okay, the vitamin actually is being comprised of few vitamin, include your vitamin A, vitamin B, C, D. Okay, but generally the vitamin, we need to know about vitamin C and the vitamin D. Vitamin C is usually come from the fruits, especially the citrus fruits. Citrus fruits such as from the orange, lemons, which is the fruits that will provide us with the sour taste. So the vitamin C, what's important of it? Vitamin C, actually, they help to form the essential part of the collagen proteins. I'm not sure you heard about collagen before. Collagens? Collagen is a kind of proteins products found in our skin, mostly. So it's something like this. This is collagens. Okay, collagens in Mandarin is called as 胶原蛋白. You heard about this, right? 胶原蛋白. Mostly the female like it a lot because the collagens make them to appear very young and pretty. 胶原蛋白, this one. So these collagens are actually the products of the protein. It's a protein product. Yeah, it's a protein product. As you can see that collagen are formed in this way. You can see this one. Okay, and then this is another change. This is another change. Actually, there's 3 change. There's a 3 polypeptide chain found in the collagens. This is we call as polypeptide change. Polypeptide change. So this collagens, one of the component collagens is actually made from the vitamin C. Yeah. So vitamin C is a component help to make the collagen proteins. Okay, so collagen proteins, they will help to make out the skin, hairs, gums, and the bones. It's a kind of structural proteins. We know as the structural proteins. So if we don't have much or we lack of the vitamin C, that means we are also lacking in the collagen proteins, right? So if there's a deficiency, deficient means what? Deficient means that lack of something, not enough. Lack of certain nutrients, deficiency. So if we don't have enough vitamin C, we will have scurvy. Scurvy is a kind of it's not really a disease, but it's a kind of condition which is your gum will be bleeding gum. Okay, so whenever you brush your tooth and then suddenly you feel that your gum is bleeding, so it's scurvy. So it shows that you might be lacking of the vitamin C. Okay, so how about vitamin D? Vitamin D is always related with the calcium. Please remember that. Vitamin D is always related with calcium. How? So vitamin D, actually, what they do is they will help in the absorption of the calcium. See? They'll help to absorb the calcium. So means that if we don't have vitamin D, can we have calcium? Adam Suya, answer me. If we don't have vitamin D, do we able to have calcium get by our body to form the strong bone and teeth? Can or not? Hello.
Can't.
Can. Cannot. The answer is cannot. I'm not sure you're spelling can or can't. Okay, cannot. Means that if our body don't have enough vitamin D, our body also unable to get enough the calcium for our use of the body. Okay, maybe I can write here down. So if we don't have vitamin D, no vitamin D, that means no calcium. Because the function of vitamin D, they will help in the absorption of the calcium. Once the calcium able to absorb by the body, right? So that means the calcium able to being used to form the strong bone and teeth. So the source of vitamin D are generally found from the animal organ, like fish, liver, see, olive fish, and the liver. And also some dairy product like the milk. And also, vitamin D, you can get the vitamin D from the sunlight. Okay, because sunlight is very useful, okay, for our body. Sunlight can help to convert, they can help to make the vitamin D in our body. So then we talk about calcium. Calcium is classified under the mineral, same with the irons, okay, calcium and irons. So calcium means 钙质, okay. So calcium, they will help us to build the strong teeth and bone. And also calcium will help in the involve clotting of the blood. This one. Teeth, bone, and clotting of the blood. What does it mean about clotting of blood? Means that when you are being injured, there was a very serious bleeding, right, from your wound. So the blood clotting mechanisms, they will help to stop your blood from bleeding. So this blood clotting, 止血, okay. So if you don't have enough calciums, what happens? It will cause the osteoporosis. What does it mean by osteoporosis? Osteoporosis means that the bone become very brittle, easy to be break. Brittle bone. And fragile. Okay, osteoporosis in Chinese, the disease called as 骨质疏松症. 疏松症, this one. That means you don't have enough calcium. So you are unable to form a strong bond. So you cause a bond easily to be break. So osteoporosis are usually higher incident happen in the elder adult. Then how about irons? Iron is they help in make in the hemoglobin. Okay, for example, we can have a look. This one. I find some picture for you to easier to figure out. Then it's okay. Let me explain the some feature to you. This one. So you can see that these collagen fibers, they will help to form the component of our skin. You can see like this skin, right? This is skin. You can see under the skin, there will be the collagen fiber like this. See? This one. So when you are getting older and older, you feel like your skin is losing the elasticity. Okay, why? Because you are lacking of the collagen fiber. See? So there will be no collagen fiber holding your skin. Yeah, so your skin will lose their elasticity. Then you'll be have a lot of wrinkle on your on your face. Yeah. And then those are the source of the calcium, okay? And also the vitamin D. Yeah, this is for you to have a look. As you can see, the vitamin D, you can get a lot from the animal organ, like the liver or the fish, okay, or the fish, sardine, tuna, salmons, or the cod liver oil, which is from the fish liver oil. Then, Then now we talk about irons. Irons is a kind of the required as a mineral, okay? It's a kind of mineral, just like the copper, magnesium, zinc. I think you heard about it before. So if you are lacking of irons, what will happen? You will have the anemia, 贫血, okay? Why will you have anemia? Because that irons help to form the component of the red blood cell. Let me have a look on the red blood cell. Okay, see, this is the red blood cell. Okay, you appear in this way, right? No nucleus, without nucleus, no nucleus, and we call as biconcave dish shape. This one. Oh, sorry. Biconcave dish shape. This is how they describe the structure of the red blood cell. So this red blood cell, each of the red blood cell actually formed from actually produced by the hemoglobin. This is a hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is a proteins. It's a proteins. It will be the quaternary structure of proteins. Quaternary structure of protein. Sorry, let me type down better. Quaternary structure of protein. So hemoglobin are actually comprised of the 4 polypeptide chains. And then this polypeptide chain is referred to this one. This one, you can see there's 4 polypeptide chain, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then each of the polypeptide chains, they contain the heme group. Okay, they have the 4 heme group on each of the polypeptide chains. So each of the 4 heme group, they contains ions. This one, Fe2 plus, means the ions found in the hemoglobin. So actually, one hemoglobin, they contains about 4 ions. One hemoglobin contains 4 ions. And then these ions, they are able to bind to oxygens. Okay, so that means one hemoglobin, they actually able to carry out 4 oxygen molecule. One hemoglobin able to bind to 4 oxygen molecule. Okay, so if you are lacking of the ions, that means you are not enough red blood cell. Okay, because red blood cell are produced by the iron, right? I mean, the ions we call as a component is one of a component of red blood cell. So if you don't have enough red blood cell, that means that you are suffering to become the anemia. So that means that your tissue unable to get enough oxygens delivered to your body cell. Because blood is actually a transport medium. Okay, you can imagine that blood is a transport medium. Transport medium help to deliver oxygens to targets body cell. Okay, so if you don't have the vitamin D, okay, different from the just now, if you don't have calcium, you become osteoporosis. Then what happens if you don't have enough vitamin D? Maybe due to the lack of sunlight, or you didn't eat the fish organs. So it will lead to the deficiency called as the rickets. Okay, where the bone becomes soft and deforms. This is because that vitamin D are usually needed for the absorption of calcium into the body, which is a key component for bone and the teeth. That means if your body don't have enough vitamin D, that means your body unable to absorb calcium to build up the strong teeth or bones. Yeah. So what's mean by ricket? Rickets is in Hua we call it as 软骨. Okay. So it will be appear in this way, the disease, like this. This is a ricket. This one. You can see the legs are being bent with the O shape. This is normal people leg. This is a person with ricket. This is their leg. They are bent outwards, okay, because their bone is very soft, unable to support their weight. Okay, so that's all for the deficiency. Usually the deficiency, they will be coming out in the paper 2 question. And then now we continue about study about the malnutrition. Malnutrition is different from the deficiency. Why? Deficiency means what? You see, just now you learn about deficiency, right? Deficiency means like you are lacking of the certain nutrients. Maybe it's the vitamin D, maybe it's the mineral, okay, the specific nutrients. However, when you talk about the malnutrition means what? You are not eating a balanced diet. maybe your diet is lacking of the energy. You don't gain enough energy. Or you are eating too much already. Excessive form of excessive calorie being intake. So leading to the disease happen. So that means that your diet is not balanced. Okay, either you are eating too less or you are eating too much. So there are 4 types of the conditions caused by the malnutrition. So starvation. Starvation means what? You are eating too less. You take the foods, okay? However, the food amount does not able to meet your daily energy requirements. The food intake not able to meet your daily energy requirements. So what happens if we have starvations? Okay, so the effect will be body always start to break down the energy store. Okay, energy store refer to what kind of energy store? Generally, it will be the carbohydrates. Okay, and then fat. Then it will lead to the severe weight loss and damage to the heart and the immune system. So also increasing the risk of many diseases because the person become immunosuppressed. Okay, immunosuppressed means what? That means their immune system are being weakened. Weakened immune system. So they are susceptible to many kind of disease. So this is the result when you are taking less energy than is used. Then what is meant by coronary heart disease? Coronary heart disease 比华语 called as a 心血管疾病. Okay, 心血管疾病. So usually it's being caused by the diet, okay, diet or other factor. But diet play a very contributing factor to the development of the coronary heart disease. Means that diet will be too high in the saturated fat or cholesterol. Like there maybe someone they eat the McDonald's or the KFC every day will be very high oily diets. So this will cause the excessive fat. Okay, the fat will build in the arteries, supplying to the hearts. So when there's an excessive deposit of the fat in the artery, especially the artery supply to the hearts. Okay, the artery that I refer is we call as a coronary artery. So it will be in this artery, this artery. See this artery? They help to supply the, we call as this coronary artery. Okay, they help to supply the oxygen and nutrients to the cardiac muscle. Okay, because you can imagine that your heart is pumping in every second when you are still living. And then the heart is actually a bunch of the cardiac muscle. I'm not sure you realize that actually your heart is just a bundle of muscle tissue, which is made from the cardiac muscle tissue. So the muscle tissue, they are always beating, right? So they need to be constantly supplied with the nutrients and oxygens. So they able to get the energy to beating. So what happened is when the main artery, which is the coronary artery, supply to the cardiac muscle being blocked. Okay, how they being blocked? It's like this. This is the artery, right? This is in our normal situations, which is a normal situation like us, healthy person without any risk of the heart disease. So in our artery, we will have the lumen inside. What does mean by lumen? Adam Suyang, am I speaking too fast? Can you get me? Okay. Can you get me? I'm not sure am I speaking too fast because I didn't get your response. Everything is okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. And then also, yeah. Okay. Sorry. This is the artery. This is the artery, right? So inside the artery, you have the hole. The hole is known as lumen. So the artery, you can see they have a thick wall here. They have a thick wall. Actually, this is a special structure for the artery. You can see they have a thick, we call it thick elastic wall. You can write down thick elastic wall. So this thick elastic wall, they help the artery to pump the blood under high pressure. I'm not sure you know that. The artery, they actually pump the blood under high pressure compared to vein or the capillary. Okay, so this is in the normal person like us. Yeah, you can see the lumen. There's a space exists between the artery, so they can allow the blood to pump. To have a normal blood flow. However, when there's a fat deposit within your wall of the artery, fat deposit on the wall of artery. So what will happen? The fat will become the plaque. The plaque means what? The plaque means that the fat with the additions with others component like the calciums, so they will form something like the very hard structure we know as plaque. Okay, so this plaque will build within the artery lumen. So what will happen? You can see initially our artery lumen is like this, right? You still have some space to allow the blood to flow through it. But when there's a plaque building up, you cause what? You cause this lumen become narrow, right? We call it as the narrowing. Sorry, I think I typed down. Narrowing of the artery lumen. They become narrow also, and also they become hardened. Okay. Narrowing and hardening of the artery lumen. So when they narrow and become hardened means what? Hardens means the artery wall itself lost their elasticity. So that means they will cause the blood flow being reduced. See, reduced blood flow, because you can see your wall is so hard and so many obstacles hindering your blood flowing forwards. So it will reduce the blood flows. So once the coronary artery reduce the blood flow supply to the cardiac muscle, that means the cardiac muscle, they'll be lacking in the nutrient and oxygen, right? So when the cardiac muscle, they did not get enough nutrient and oxygen, what will happen? So at that, imagine that this is a very serious condition. I think you must know. Imagine that your coronary artery, which supply nutrient and oxygen to your cardiac muscle, one day they are being blocked. What will happen to the cardiac muscle? And then, have a guess? What will happen to a cardiac muscle if the artery supply to a cardiac muscle are being blocked? There's no blood supply to your cardiac muscle. So what will happen next? Your cardiac muscle will be still living or they will be dying. Which one? Living or dying? Yeah, dying. Yes, dying. Because there's no blood flow to a cardiac muscle. So this is we call as what? So you can see that maybe this region of the heart muscle, they are losing of the blood supply. So they will die. Okay. So they will causing what? They will cause heart attack. So this is how the heart attacks, we call it 心脏病发作. Heart attacks are being happen in this way. Because cardiac muscle, they did not get enough supply of the nutrient and oxygen, so they will be dying. Okay, so once the cardiac muscle die, actually there's a term, okay, The term is called as myocardial infarctions. This is the extra vocabulary. You can no need to write in your IGCSE exam. They did not ask about this. Myocardial infarctions. I just allow you to have infarctions. Myocardial means what? Myocardial means the cardiac muscle. Okay, cardiac muscle. Infarction means what? Infarction means that they already die. Okay, and then these conditions, you think that is reversible? See, when your cardiac muscle are being die, they can live back or not? The answer is no. Okay. So this is, we call as coronary heart disease, because usually that the artery, which is the coronary artery, they are facing this kind of situations. So when the fat deposit, okay, built within the artery lumens, so they will block the blood supply to the hearts. So the muscle unable to work due to lack of oxygen. So they will cause the heart attack and death. So that's why the people with suffering the heart attacks, okay, if you don't send them to hospital immediately, they will be dying maybe very fast, okay. I mean, the death will occur very suddenly. Yeah, this is because that the cardiac muscle, when they lost the blood supply, they will, they will go into the infarction stage. This one, myocardial infarctions. Okay, so that's the story about it. Usually, it's caused by the saturated fat. See, the diet. Usually, the problem is diet. Okay, diet and the lifestyle. Yeah. Constipation. Okay, constipation means what? When you are lacking of the cellulose fibers in your diet, means that you did not eat enough vegetable and the fruits. So this will cause the foods lack the bulk for the muscle to push it through the alimentary canals. So you can imagine it this way. Constipation are like this. Okay, this is the large intestine. This is large intestine, right? So within the large intestine, okay, when I talk about large intestine, intestine. Actually, I'm talking three parts, which is the colon, the colon. Second one is the rectum, and the last one will be anus. This three part is under the large intestine. Okay, so the large intestine, the function is they will absorb the water and mineral ions, right? The function of large intestine. Means that when the food contents, they undergo the digestions in the small intestine. So once they reach the large intestine, then they're passing along the large intestine. So inside the food content, there's a lot of water, right? So along the way, the water will be absorbed by the intestine cell in the large intestine. And then they will become the feces, okay? Now they will form the feces, right? So the feces will become hardened because they're losing water when they're passing through the large intestine. Yeah, so they become hardened. So when the feces become too hard, like this, okay, you can imagine that the feces becomes too hard, just like very hard stone. So the hard stone, like feces, is very hard for the colons, for the large intestine to pass through it. So in order to allow the feces to passing along your large intestine very smoothly, you are required the retention. At least you might allow some water retentions within your feces. Retention of the moisture, we call it retention of moisture within feces. Okay, why I say in this way? Because you can imagine that water is just like the lubricants. Water is a lubricant. So whenever your feces have a lot of water inside the feces, so the water help to lubricate it when they're passed along the large intestine. So it will allow the feces able to passing out from the colon to the rectums very easily. So when the feces is losing the water, if they don't have enough water, so the feces become very hard and dry. So constipation will happen until it's too hard and too dry, okay? Just like a hard stone passing along your intestine tract. So it will cause the injure. They will injure your intestine lining. So sometimes the constipation, they will cause the feces contain blood. Because the feces, they injure the intestine lining inside it because it's too hard already. Okay, so the function of the fibers. So why we need to eat the fibers from the fruit and vegetable? Because the fiber able to hold the water. Cellulose fibers able fiber sorry I type wrong. Fiber able to hold the water inside feces. So this means that allow retention of the moisture within the feces. Okay, yeah, so this is the function of fiber. And then, so that means you already understand why your parents ask you to eat a lot of vegetable and fruits every day, because you need to, you need the supply of the fiber, okay? Ethan Suyang, can I ask you, do you think that can we get energy from the fiber? The question is like this. Can we get energy from digestion of fiber? Can or not?
No.
No, correct. Your answer is correct, but why? As we know that our energy source is from the carbohydrate, right, which is our main energy source, then followed by the fats. So fiber is not the main energy source, but why we still need the fiber is because, yeah, for this purpose, to prevent the constipation. Okay, yeah, in human, our enzyme, you can see that we don't have any kind of enzyme help us to digest the fibers, but we have the enzyme help us to digest the carbohydrates, proteins, and the lipid. Okay, so this one, bowel cancer, means that if you don't eat enough fibers, you'll have a highly incidence of developing your bowel cancer. There's a disease we call as colon cancer. Okay, maybe you can have a look. Oh, this one, colon cancer. In Huayu, it calls 大肠癌. I think you heard about it before, right? 大肠癌. Okay, colon cancer in nowadays is quite a common cancer. Okay, affected especially the Chinese populations. Colon cancer, 大肠癌. Due to their diet, they did not get enough the supply of the fiber from their diet. And then now we'll talk about obesity. Obesity means that too fat already, okay? Means that you are taking more energy than you are using. This is issue being faced by people nowadays, means that they are eating a lot of foods rather than use up the energy provided by the food. Means there will be excess energy stored inside the body. So this extra energy will be stored in form of fats, usually. Okay, so they will cause the weight to increase and contribute to the development of many diseases such as heart disease and diabetes. So I think you can realize that whenever the people they have the obesity, usually they are not only having obesity, usually they are also having heart disease also, and together with diabetes and together with the hypertension, 高血压. So this is we call as multifactorial situations, okay, due to their diet, due to their lifestyle. Yeah, I think that's all for this malnutrition. And then let me talk about the malnutrition focus on the proteins. Okay, just on malnutrition, we talk about when not eating a balanced diet. And now we talk about when we don't have enough proteins. What will happen if we don't have enough proteins? We call it as proteins energy malnutrition. These protein energy malnutritions are usually happens in the country which is a very, very poor, underdeveloped country like Africa, like India. Yeah, because they don't have enough food supplies, or they don't have enough nutrition supply to their diets. So there are two kinds of the proteins energy malnutrition. One we call as the kwashiorkor, and the one we call it Merriam's. So during exam, you should know able to identify the picture. So like this. This is a kwashiorkor, and then this is Merriam's. So what difference between this disease? Is a kwashiorkor means that these children, they have a very big abdomen, despite of their very thin, bony, light body. See, they have the swollen abdomen. This one. So at that young, I'm not sure. Do you feel like curious? See, they are so thin, but why they have such a big abdomen? Inside abdomen, they contain what? What kind of contents are found inside the abdomen? The answer is inside the abdomen, they actually contain water only. Water. Okay. 里面的这个肚子积水 okay, means that the accumulations of the water inside their swollen abdomens, inside the abdomen cavity, in their abdominal cavity. So this term we call ascites. Ascites is terms like it refer to the water accumulations within the abdominal cavity. We call it ascites. Okay, because that when they are having the proteins deficiency, means that they don't get enough proteins, they will cause this kind of conditions happen. Okay, so this is kwashiorkor. And then what means like Merriam's? Merriam's means like they don't have enough protein, right? So as we know that proteins, the functional proteins, they will help in the building of the muscle, for tissue repair and growth. So if you don't have enough proteins, that means that you're losing your muscle mass. Because you don't have enough protein, help you to build the muscle. So you can see that the kids are suffering those malnutrition that they are very, very thin. Okay, they don't have extra fats under their skin. Okay, so kwashiorkor is caused by the lack of proteins in the diets. So they have an underweight for their age, but have the swollen abdomens, as their diet may contain a lot of the carbohydrates. That means that in the poverty countries, they usually just eat the carbohydrates to supply their daily energy requirements, but they are lacking of protein, right? So that's why they don't have the proteins help them to build their muscle. Okay, the Merriam's means that they are lacking of the both proteins together with energy. See, kwashiorkor is just lacking of the protein only, but the Merriam's is lacking both proteins and energy. So you have a much more lower body weight than normal, and you look very emaciated. Okay, emaciated means that the person appear very skinny, very thin, and very like lacking of the energy supply. Okay, so those are the terms. And then now we talk about dietary need for the different individuals. So actually, our energy needs, our nutrition needs, they are very based on our life stage. Okay, when we talk about the age, means that you see the amount of energy that the young people needs increase towards the adulthood, as this energy is needed for growth. Okay, so but when you try to compare children with the adults, see, children with the adult, actually children, they need a higher proportion of the proteins compared to the adult, as due to children, they will the growth and development that happens when they are appear in the children's stage. Okay, so energy needs of adult decrease as they age. So you can see this graph. So how our metabolism change as we get older. You can see there's a three curve, right? Energy expenditure, body fat level, and the incidence of the chronic disease. So maybe you can just focus on the energy expenditure. You can see that the energy expenditure increase when you are growing from the children's become the teenagers. However, when you are reach the adult stage, so your energy level are actually decrease. See, decrease. And then when you are aged, they decrease more. There will be, we call it as the rapid decline of the energy level when you are aging. So we can conclude that the people which is at their younger age, they require the higher energy level compared to the people with they are in the older age. Okay. So now we talk about the activity levels. So if the person they become more active, that means they are require more energy supply for their movement. For example, when you compare with the normal person and the athletes, okay, athletes always do the exercise every day, right? So athletes definitely have the higher activity level compared with the normal adults. So that's why they require more energy supplies for their movement. And then how about pregnancy? Okay, a pregnant woman, they have the higher energy. I mean, they have a higher energy demand compared with the normal women. Okay, see, energy requirements increase as the energy is needed to support the growth of the developing fetus. Yeah. So the pregnant women, they require the additional energy supports to their fetus, and also they require extra calcium and irons because they need to form the bond for the baby. They need to form the bond and the bloods, okay, the red blood cell for the baby. And then the breastfeedings, the energy requirement increase, and the extra calcium still need to make the high quality breast milk. Yeah, so the pregnant woman also they require the additional supply of the calcium. Yeah. Okay, then now we talk about the process of the alimentary canal. This is the most important part in the exam. Okay, maybe I can write in the star here. Okay, so now we learn about the how the food break down. Okay, so whenever we eat the foods, okay, we eat the food. Just now you just having your dinner, right? So now just now you already eat your dinner. So when you're eating your dinner, the process is referred to the ingestions. It's like ingestions. Ingestion means what? Ingestion means you are taking of the food substance into your body through the mouth. You are ingesting. Okay. Then when the food enter into the mouth cavity, there will be the mechanical digestion happens. Mechanical digestion means that they are helping to break down the food into the smaller piece. Okay, because the food initially there will be a large food particle, right? The mechanical digestion help to break them down into the small food particles without the help of the chemical change to the food molecule. Means that you just physically break down only from the large side become the small side physically, not chemically. Because chemically means that you are converting the structure of the food molecule. So whenever we talk about mechanical digestion, we are talking about two sides, okay? Two sides. One is the stomach. Stomach, okay? Stomach. Stomach, you have the, we call as churning actions. Churning actions. Churning action, sorry. Then another one is teeth. Teeth we call as a chewing action. Chewing. Then now we talk about chemical digestion. Chemical digestion is being done by the enzyme. Enzyme. Because chemical digestion means what? Means that they are breaking down the large insoluble molecule becomes smaller and soluble molecule. See, from insoluble becomes soluble means that they are actually changing the chemical structure of the food molecule itself. So those are being carried out by the enzyme. The enzyme which is that you learned before, which is the protease, lipase, amylase. And then after we perform the digestion, right? So now the foods already becomes the small and soluble molecule. So now they're ready to be absorbed, undergo the nutrient absorptions. So now the small and soluble food molecule can directly absorbed by the intestine villi into the blood. Yeah. Okay, so the nutrient absorption is by the intestine villi into the blood capillary. See this one, the wall of villi, the wall of the intestine, they actually refer to the intestine villi, okay, which is in this way. This is intestine wall. On the intestine wall, there's actually lining out of the villi. Those are the villi. Villi is double L. So this villi, inside the villi, they actually contain what? They actually contains the two structure. Maybe when I enlarge the image, you can see the villi are appearing this way. Okay, which is the middle part that have a structure like this. Now, this structure we call as the lacteal. And then there have the blood capillary surround it like this. Blood capillary. Like this. Those are the blood capillary. So that means that nutrients, which is a small and soluble nutrients, they will be absorbed into the blood capillaries or the lacteal found within the intestine villi. Yeah. And then next stage will be the assimilations. Assimilation is a process happens after the nutrients enter into intestine villi and reach the liver. Assimilation happen in the liver. You can note down. Because liver perform the most of the metabolism. Okay, which is the carbohydrates, proteins, and lipid metabolism. So that means that assimilations means the movement of digested food molecule. They will enter into the body cell body where they are used. Means the nutrient molecule, which is the amino acids, the glucose, the fatty acid. Now they already become part of your body cell. Okay, so after that, when some of the waste product they did not absorb along the process, they will be excreted out in form of feces. So this is known as the egestions. Egestion. Okay, egestion means that removal of the waste product in form of feces. Feces only. Okay, egestion is different from excretion. I told you before, right? Egestion is just about removal of feces. However, when we talk about excretions, it refers to the removal of the waste product. It includes the urea, includes the mineral salt, includes the carbon dioxide, and also the feces. It's a broad term. Okay, so that's the stage of the food breakdown. So you can see from this process, you're able to you're able to take the nutrients or the energy contained inside the foods to supply your body cell by those process. Okay, then another thing you need to know about, you need to study about the structure of the alimentary canal. This one. Structure. Please remember about the structure. Oh, sorry. This one, structure. Okay, so you can see from the mouth. So along the mouth, the foods will mix with the saliva, right? So the saliva contain the amylase. saliva contain the salivary amylase. So actually the salivary amylase are being secreted out by the salivary gland. Okay, so after that, the foods, they will reach the esophagus. They will enter the esophagus. Esophagus is just a tube, a long tube made up from the smooth muscle. So that means that the food able to travel down the esophagus from the mouth and enter into the stomach. So those process is called as the peristalsis. I think you heard about it before, right? Peristalsis. 蠕动. This one. Okay. And then when the foods enter into the stomach, here, there will be the digestion happen. Digestions, which is the, we call it as the protein digestions, which belong to chemical. So the stomach, they contain the pepsin, okay? They contain the pepsin enzyme, and also they have the hydrochloric acid. They help in doing the protein digestions. So the food, after the undergoes the protein digestion in the stomach, they will be released out. Then now they will enter into the small intestine. Number 5. But along the way, small intestine, they are comprised of 3 parts, right? Which is the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. I'm not sure you still remember or not. So when the food enter from the stomach into the duodenum, which is the first part of small intestine, so at that side, they are actually receive secretion from the gallbladder and the pancreas. Okay, why? Because the liver, okay, we talk about liver. Liver, they contains, liver produce the bile. Okay, the bile. So the bile will be stored inside the gallbladder. So the gallbladder will release the bile to the duodenum whenever they need it. Okay, because the gallbladder store the bile. And then the pancreas. Okay, maybe I can write here by better for you to refer. So remember, yeah, liver produce bile, but gallbladder store bile. Store. Please don't confuse after that. And then pancreas, what pancreas do? Pancreas will help to secrete the enzyme. They will help to secrete the enzyme. The enzyme secreted by pancreas, there's 3 kind of enzyme, which is the lipase, amylase, and protease, which is the trypsin. Is secreted by the pancreas. So the pancreas, they will produce the enzyme, and then the enzyme will be released to the small intestine, right? So the small intestine is a site for the chemical digestion to happen. They perform the chemical digestions at the small intestine. And also, after the food are being break down, okay, into the simplest, small, and soluble form, they will be undergo the nutrient absorptions. Okay, so the small intestine, there will be the chemical digestions of the 3 class of the foods. The 3 macronutrient of food, which is the protein take place, the fats, and the carbohydrates. And also, I put plus means that, and also nutrient absorption also happens in the small intestine. So after the small intestine, undergo the nutrient absorptions. So now the contents, okay, inside the contents, they will enter into large intestine. So from the large intestine, there will be absorption of the water and mineral iron, just like I mentioned just now. And then they will be enter into rectum and then released by the anus as a feces. So those are the whole process of the alimentary canal. Okay, maybe you feel like you're confused. I'm not sure you're confused or not. Okay, then from this diagram, you need to know about the path of the alimentary canals. So you can see that this one, they highlight in the blue color, light blue color. You can see light blue color. So those are the part of alimentary canal. So the alimentary canals, they include what? They include mouth, esophagus, stomach, bowel. Okay, sorry, bile duct. Okay, they include the bile duct. And then the small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and anus. Except they did not include the salivary glands, liver, and gallbladder. Salivary gland, liver, and gallbladder, and also the pancreas. These 4 organs are not classified under alimentary canal. They are just an accessory structure only. Remember that? Yeah. Liver, salivary gland, gallbladder, and the pancreas. They are not classified under the alimentary canal. Okay, so I hope you understand. Okay, okay, now we have how many? Okay, we still have about 15 minutes like that. Okay, now we can open this notes. Okay, I will open this note. I think I sent you in the WeChat. Open this note, yeah. It's not this one. Chapter 7. Digestive system process. I think I sent you before, right? Let me check. This one. Okay, you open this note, and then I will explain to you about the enzyme happen in every part of body. Okay, are you still there? Yeah, you're still there. Okay, and then Suyan, can you find the notes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You can see the screen, right? The chapter 7, human nutrition. I'm opening the alimentary canal.
Yeah.
Okay, come. Let's continue. So please always know about the structures, because during paper 4, they always like you. They will always come up in this kind of questions. Label the structure. So you should know how to label the mouth, salivary glands, tongue, esophagus, the liver, the gallbladders, and the stomach, pancreas. Pancreas is just like a small leaf. It's just a small leaf like this. And then the small intestine, and then the bile duct. Okay, this bile duct, okay, there's a structure called as bile duct. So bile duct actually is a kind of duct. Duct means what? Duct means you can just imagine like it's a water pipeline in your house. So the bile ducts actually they help to transfer the bile, okay, from the gallbladders to the small intestine, which is the duodenum, the first part of small intestine. Okay, then from the pancreas they secrete the enzyme, right? Then after the pancreas secrete the enzyme need to be transport from the pancreas enter into the small intestine, right? This place. So actually between the pancreas and the small intestine, there's also a structure we call as the pancreatic duct, like here, around here. Okay, is called as a pancreatic duct. Pancreatic duct. So these pancreatic ducts, they help to transport the enzyme produced by pancreas until they reach the first part of small intestine. Yeah, that's all. Okay, so you should know how to describe the digestion, which is a kind of like process. It involves the breaking down of the complex food. See, break down. The keyword. Please remember how to write. Break down. Break down means what? 分解,消化. Complex or large food substance into simplest form. Okay, simplest or soluble for the body to absorb. So this is what digestion do. The chemical digestion do. Okay, from the carbohydrate become glucose, protein become amino acids, lipid become the fatty acid glycerol. So they are being divided into two types of digestions. One is physicals, one is chemicals. See, chewings and the churning of the stomach. And then now let's talk about the digestion of the carbohydrates in the mouth. Okay, carbohydrates. In the mouth, we have the salivary amylase, right? This one, salivary amylase. So the salivary amylase, they will do these equations. Okay, they will convert the starch. See, starch plus the water be converted by the salivary amylase, then they will become maltose. Okay, I hope you still remember that starch is the polysaccharide, right? It's a polysaccharide, starch. Oh. Starch is a complex form of the carbohydrate because it's polysaccharide. So you can see that how you break down such a large complex form of the carbohydrates become the simplest form. I mean, not simplest, but simpler. So become maltose because maltose is a disaccharide. So it's by the chemical digestion performed by the enzyme. So you should know how to write the equation because example they will ask it. Remember to add on the water, okay, together with water. And then these equations, I mean, this enzyme, they carry out their reactions under the optimum pH, which is around pH 7, this 6.5 or 7.5 in the mouth. So this will cause the salivary amylase to function optimally. So after that, the foods, they will form into the bolus and then swallow into the esophagus. So now, see how they enter the esophagus. So from the esophagus, they will perform the peristalsis. Okay, what's mean by peristalsis? It's meant by the contraction and relaxations of the smooth muscle. See this one? Contract and relax of the smooth muscle on the wall of the esophagus. Because imagine that this esophagus is just a muscular tube. It's just made from the smooth muscle only. So this smooth muscle, they want to contract and relax. So when they contract and relax, they will push the food content downwards to the stomach. So they will create the wave-like motions. They push the content of canal forwards. Okay, until they reach the stomach. Yeah. So now the food already reached the stomach already. So in the stomach, they start the protein digestion. This is because that the stomach, okay, the stomach lining, they have the gastric glands. Okay. So these gastric glands, they will help to secrete the gastric juice. Okay, I'm not sure, but you can imagine that gastric juice is very, very sour. Why? Because the gastric juice is comprised of the two substance. Okay, two components. One is called as a hydrochloric acid, and another is pepsin. Hydrochloric acid, we call it as 胃酸. Okay, so it's acid. It's very highly acidic substance because it have the pH about pH 1.5 to 2 around here. So the function of hydrochloric acid, the exam will ask you this question. What is the function of the hydrochloric acid in the paper form? Yeah. So you should write because hydrochloric acid is sour, right? So they able to help to kill the bacteria in the food because it's very highly acidic. This is the first one. Secondly, the hydrochloric acid, they're able to create the acidic environment, which is about pH 2 for the optimum actions of the pepsin. This is their functions. Okay, so that's why hydrochloric acid, they're able to help activate the pepsinogen become pepsin. Pepsinogen is we call as the precursor of the pepsin. Means pepsinogen cannot function, but they need to convert become pepsin. Only they can function to carry out the protein digestions. So, what is the function of pepsin? Pepsin is the enzyme. It's an enzyme. Okay, so this enzyme, they help to break down proteins, become polypeptide. See, so the equation will be like this way: protein plus the water, then they will be converts by the pepsin. So you should write the pepsin on top on the arrow. So become the polypeptide. So you can imagine that these proteins initially will be in this structure, right? 3-dimensional structure like this. And there's a lot of bond. Right. Now you use this pepsin. So this pepsin will cut off all the bond holding the proteins. So now they will become like this. Yeah, like this. Polypeptide change is like this. Okay, so this is the amino acid. This is a peptide bond. This is a peptide bond. Peptide bond holding the amino acids. So this is how they're able to form polypeptide change. So the polypeptide change, before that, when they fold together, they will become proteins. Proteins which have the specific structures. But now the pepsin break down the bond holding the protein. So that's why they will expose themselves, become polypeptide change. Okay, so that means hydrolyze the proteins into the polypeptide. Okay, actually these reactions, you can see you involve in the waters, okay, here also waters. Actually these equations with the substrate together water, there's a name. The name is, they call as the hydrolysis. Hydrolysis. So hydrolysis, the term is similar with the breakdown. So both means 分解, okay? Help to break down them into a simplest form. Okay, and then this is some of the structure of the gastric gland. It's okay. This one you don't need to memorize. But you just need to know that in stomach, they have what? They have the mucus. They have this one, mucus. They have the hydrochloric acid. They have the pepsin. You should know in the stomach they have the mucus also, because inside the stomach they have the mucus cell, so they're able to produce a thick layer of mucus. Okay, this renin you don't need to know. You don't need to know. Okay, so why they need to have mucus inside the stomach wall? Because you can imagine that the stomach cell, which is a gastric glands, they produce a hydrochloric acid, right? Hydrochloric acid is very highly acidic. It's very highly acidic substance. So they might be able to corrode of your intestine lining. It will cause a damage of your intestine cell. It's not intestine cell, your stomach cell. The hydrochloric acid, they might able to corrode the stomach lining. So that's why you must have a thick layer of the mucus. So you can able to help the intestine, the stomach lining from being digested by the hydrochloric acid. So the function of mucus, you can write it down. Function of mucus, as I've got this before in the paper 4. So they help to protect, usually they protect the stomach lining from being digested by the pepsin. So the mucus also, they help into the, we call as protects from physical damage of the food content. Okay, so you can see that inside the stomach, the food contents, they become what? They become the acidic kind. This one. This is called as chyme. Chyme. What means like chyme? The chyme means semi-solid. Semi-solid mixture. It look a bit liquid, but a little bit solid. So it got semi-solid. Okay, and then I think next week we can talk about the small intestine digestions. Okay, because in the small intestine, they're able to perform these three kind of digestion, which is carbohydrate, protein, and lipid. And then we need to study about the enzyme carry out the digestion in the small intestine. Okay, I think we can continue on the next week. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope you gain some knowledge today. Okay, so far everything good. And then Suya.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. See you next
Bye.
week.
Bye.